Everyone is watching SpaceX. The ticker, the roadshow, the historic valuation, the headlines about Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire. Everyone is watching. And that is exactly the problem. Because when everyone is watching the same thing, the real opportunity is always somewhere else. Adjacent, overlooked, already trading, already accessible, already compounding for the people who understood the ecosystem before the crowd arrived at the door. Today, Sovereign Wealth breaks down the SpaceX hidden winners, the stocks, the funds, and the positions that move when SPCX moves, that you can buy today, right now, before the IPO launches, without waiting for an allocation that may never come. The crowd buys the headline. The sovereign buys what the headline makes valuable. Stay until the end. The last hidden winner is the one nobody is talking about. Welcome to Sovereign Wealth. Your coach, your consigliere. We don't just learn wealth, we live it. The SpaceX IPO is the largest in history. Here is how the sovereign are positioned. Let's get into it. When a company of SpaceX's scale goes public, it does not just create a new ticker symbol. It reshapes entire sectors. It pulls capital into adjacent industries. It causes passive funds tracking the S&P 500 and NASDAQ to buy automatically, creating price-insensitive demand that ripples across every company in the same ecosystem. This is not theory. This is how every major IPO in history has worked. When Amazon went public, logistics and cloud companies rose. When Google went public, digital advertising stocks rose. When Tesla went public, electric vehicle component suppliers rose. The question the sovereign always asks is not, how do I buy the IPO? The question is, what does the IPO make more valuable? That is where the hidden winners live. RocketLab, USA. Ticker RKLB. SpaceX's most credible launch competitor in the small satellite market. Already publicly traded, already generating revenue. Posted $602 million in annual revenue in 2025. Here is the counterintuitive insight that most retail investors miss entirely. SpaceX going public does not hurt RocketLab. It validates the entire commercial launch industry. When the largest player in a sector goes public at a $2 trillion valuation, it tells every institutional investor on Earth that this sector is real, it is scalable, and it is worth paying attention to. Capital flows into sectors, not just individual stocks. When SpaceX captures the headlines, money flows into space. And some of that money finds RocketLab. RocketLab also has something SpaceX does not at the small satellite scale, the Electron rocket, optimized for rapid deployment of small payloads with a launch cadence that complements, rather than competes, with Falcon 9. The space economy needs multiple providers. RocketLab is the second largest, and it is already in your brokerage account today. SpaceMobile. Ticker ASTS. The second largest satellite internet provider behind Starlink. Targeting a market that Starlink proved exists, direct-to-device satellite connectivity, meaning internet service beamed directly to standard smartphones without any additional hardware. No dish, no terminal, no special equipment, just a smartphone and a satellite overhead. The total addressable market for this technology is every mobile phone user on Earth who currently has poor or no internet connectivity. That is approximately 4 billion people. Starlink validated the concept. SpaceMobile is the only other company positioned to execute it at global scale. And as SpaceX's IPO drives media attention to satellite internet. AST, SpaceMobile benefits from every headline that educates consumers about the category. The category rises when the category leader goes public. AST SpaceMobile is already there, already trading. For the investor who wants SpaceX exposure today, without waiting for the IPO, without needing accredited investor status, without the complexity of secondary market platforms, the Barron First Principles ETF holds SpaceX directly at a 7.7% weighting as of the most recent disclosed holdings. One purchase, one ticker, direct SpaceX exposure, available in any standard brokerage account. Today, this is the cleanest entry for the investor who wants a position before SPCX launches, without the risk of concentrating entirely in a single pre-IPO structure. When SPCX begins trading and the ETF's SpaceX holding is repriced to the public market valuation, the ETF benefits immediately, automatically, without any additional action required. The sovereign position in the vehicle. Let the vehicle do the work. For the investor who wants to go deeper, who wants direct SpaceX exposure at a higher weighting before the IPO reprices the shares, the private shares fund holds SpaceX at a 19.4% weighting, accessible to non-accredited investors. Minimum investment approximately $2,500. This is not a complex structure. It is a fund that holds private company shares, SpaceX being the largest position, that reprices when those companies go public. When SPCX begins trading at the public market valuation, the private shares fund's largest holding gets repriced. The net asset value adjusts. The investor who was in before the IPO captures the difference between the private valuation and the public debut price. The window to enter at the pre-IPO private valuation closes the moment SPCX begins trading. That window is open right now. Palantir Technologies, ticker PLTR. Not an obvious SpaceX play. That is precisely why it is on this list. Palantir provides AI-powered data analytics and infrastructure to both government and commercial clients. SpaceX is a Palantir client. The U.S. Department of Defense, SpaceX's largest government customer, is Palantir's largest client. As SpaceX expands its government contracts, satellite infrastructure for the military, launch services for NASA, communications infrastructure for defense, the data management and AI analytics requirements grow with it. Palantir sits at the intersection of every one of those contracts. The sovereign does not just buy the rocket, they buy the infrastructure the rocket depends on. Globalstar, ticker GSAT. This one requires a level of understanding that most retail investors do not have, which is why it belongs on this list. Globalstar owns radio frequency spectrum, the electromagnetic real estate that satellite networks need to operate. Spectrum is a finite resource, regulated by governments globally. You cannot create more of it. As the satellite internet market expands, driven by Starlink's growth, by AST SpaceMobile, by every government and enterprise that wants satellite connectivity, the demand for spectrum increases. Companies that own spectrum become more valuable as the market they serve becomes more valuable. Globalstar is already partnered with Apple for emergency SOS via satellite on the iPhone. That relationship alone demonstrates the commercial credibility of the asset. The sovereign buys the scarce resource that the growing industry depends on. Spectrum is the oil of the satellite internet era. Viasat, ticker VSAT. the established satellite communications provider, government contracts, aviation Wi-Fi, maritime connectivity, enterprise networking. Viasat has been in satellite communications longer than Starlink has existed. Its government contract relationships, particularly with the US military, are deep, long-term, and difficult for any competitor to displace quickly. When the SpaceX IPO generates mainstream media attention around satellite internet and space infrastructure, Viasat benefits from the category education. Investors who discover the sector through SpaceX headlines eventually find the established players. The established player gets discovered when the new entrant gets famous. The sovereign is already there waiting. Here is what separates the sovereign investor from the crowd in an IPO moment like this. The crowd wants the allocation, the front page stock, the ticker everyone is talking about. The sovereign builds the ecosystem, multiple positions, different risk profiles, different time horizons, each one capturing a different aspect of the same structural trend. Some of these positions will outperform SPCX itself. Some will underperform. The portfolio wins even if any single position disappoints. This is not diversification for the sake of spreading thin. This is precision. Understanding the full map of a trend and positioning across it before the crowd arrives at any single point on that map. Be in the ecosystem. Let the IPO tide lift every boat you own. 7 hidden winners, each one already trading, each one accessible today, each one positioned to benefit when the largest IPO in history changes the conversation around the space economy permanently. The crowd arrives at the headline. The sovereign arrived at the ecosystem weeks ago. Whether you are 21 or 71, the window is open. But windows close. The IPO roadshow is live this week. SPCX begins trading on NASDAQ any day now. The pre-IPO positioning window closes the moment the first share trades. Which of these 7 hidden winners are you researching first? Drop the ticker in the comments. Let this community build together. If sovereign wealth gave you something real today, hit the like button. Subscribe. New sessions every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The moves are happening in real time. Share this with one person who needs to be positioned before the window closes. We will see you in the next one.